Alright, we're back. Alright, this will be the last video for a little while on this particular ramp. I'll try to do a little bit better job of talking about some of the damage and how to maybe perhaps mitigate some of that damage. I know the first video where I kind of started discussing that wasn't quite as informative as I hoped it to be, but try to do a little better job this time, and we'll look at this ramp for one more time before I just get real jiggy with it and just start tearing it apart. All right, so here we go. All right, so here's what I got. I'm ripping apart most of this ramp. I'll start looking at a lot of the damage here. It's pretty extensive in certain spots, but let me get my little list here so we can talk about these different items. Okay, first item I want to talk about is weep holes. And if you look down through here, you'll see all these different holes here. These are all weep holes so that the ramp can dry, and that helps. Obviously, what helps more than that is to keep snow and rain off of this stuff. You know what I mean? After it rains, you want to get a squeegee and squeegee off the flat bottom. Now, I would not recommend putting weep holes in towards the upper transitions, because where this would water would drain straight down. If you try to put it in between something, it's just going to flow to the next board below it and rot that wood out. So putting like a weep hole here would be no good. The water would just drain, hit the support, and rot that support out. So weep holes only in the flat bottom. What else can I discuss here? Yes, caulking. Caulking in between the ramp armor. Ramp armor does a really good job of protecting stuff, but as you can see where right through here, you can see the damage. All this. And that's where there was a split in the ramp armor. The ramp armor came from this point up here and came down, and this is where there was a break. And then from here down, it came to another piece. As you can see here on this ramp, you had ramp armor that came all the way down, and I believe there was a break right about through here. That's where the ramp armor broke. You can see the damage. Then another piece of ramp armor was sitting here, as opposed to having one large piece that came all the way down. So I would say caulking in between the ramp armor, the cracks of the ramp armor, keep that from causing damage. Now, even though I laid the layers so that like say you got a piece here, this is the bottom layer, a piece here, the piece of you should always not line your crack lines up. So wood would have to cover this crack, so the next layer over top of this would have to cover that crack. You'll never want them to do that, to have a crack that goes straight through to the support, a full crack. As you can see, we have damage right here. So I'd even say caulk around your coping. Now, as you can see, lots of damage up here, lots of damage here. And these were pieces. This was a piece of ramp armor was here, like that. So it soaked through. It's soaked through right through here. So yeah, I'd say as much as ramp armor helps protect, if you don't caulk them, I think it actually aids in the destruction of the ramp. If it allows water to get down through there, and of course it can't dry because it's underneath the ramp armor. So it actually can aid in the destruction of the ramp. I would like to talk about screw heads now. let's look at that. Now, as you're putting layers on, you'll start noticing some of these screw heads. Some of them aren't so bad, here and here. Some of them are real bad, here and here. And they rust out because the water sits in between the layers. I think maybe what I would do, I would perhaps go and get bearing grease. After you put on the layer, put globs of bearing grease to protect the screw heads for when the water comes. I would probably do that. How well will that work? I don't know. It's just what I would probably do in the future. Being I didn't do that, I have nothing to compare it to. But I would definitely do something to protect the screw heads, because it definitely seemed like in between the layers, like this one, it really damages them. Okay, now for the final layer. If you're wanting to spend the money, now even though these screw heads look pretty good on the ramp armor, now up here you're on the upper layers, you're up here on the upper transition, where it's going to dry, so it's not going to be as bad. But down here, I think what I would do is I would spend the money and put stainless steel. I would stainless steel. If you want to go to the expense of buying ramp armor, I would use stainless steel screws on the final layer of the ramp armor. I think that's what I would do. As far as stain, let's talk about oil-based stains, which is what, this is an oil-based stain. These layers down here, this ramp was oil-based stained, each layer, because it took me a while before I actually put ramp armor on it. So to protect the ramp, I used oil-based stains, and I had everybody skating a softer wheel, which is, if you look at my one video called the Riders, there was a Luca board that had the Dukes of Hazzard car on. I thought that was my son's board. Actually, it was my board. He says, "Oh, Dad, that's your board." And now I remember we put that board together for the kids that would come over here and skate this, that had softer wheels, because that board has softer Spitfire wheels on it, so you wouldn't damage the wood in the meantime before I got the ramp armor on. So we skate a softer wheel. If you got a real hard wheel's harder than the wood, it's going to tear the wood up. If you got a softer wheel, the wheel's softer than the wood, it's not going to be as harmful to the wood. So anybody who doesn't have ramp armor and they're going to build a ramp, I would recommend just skate a softer wheel. Build a board. If you took the money to build a ramp, it cost you thousands of dollars to build a ramp, you certainly could afford another $100 to build a skateboard with softer wheels. Use that just for the ramp. So that's what I would do. All right, and I would also stain the framing. So in the process of building it, after I built the framing, I'd stain 2 good coats of oil-based stain, lay my first layer. After it dries, lay the first layer, give a nice good oil-based stain. I would, as I said before, I'd probably put globs of bearing grease over top of those screws. Lay the second layer, oil-based stain that, a couple layers of oil-based stain. Let it soak into the wood. Then I lay my ramp armor. I'd be putting my little daubs of bearing grease on those screw heads again. I lay my ramp armor with stainless steel screws, and all the while I'd be caulking all these cracks. Each layer, I'd be caulking my cracks. Even on the wood layers, the 2 half-inch wood layers, I'd caulk those. And I would caulk my ramp armor. I would caulk up along in my coping. So I'd caulk everything, and that would probably do quite a bit to give some more longevity to your ramp. How well it would work, hard to say. You'd have to find somebody that had that type of situation and decided to pull it apart and let you know what it looked like. There's also some stuff on CCS called skate paint. It sounds pretty interesting. I don't know that I would use that in between the layers because that's just a surface coating. It may work really well where maybe the oil base will work better because it soaks into the wood. You want something that's going to soak in and soak into the wood. Hell, even maybe pouring fucking motor oil or something on your it's the old used motor oil, you know, who knows. I know it's not environmentally friendly, but if you're trying to save your ramp longevity, I don't know, some type of oil to soak into the wood to saturate that wood. Now let's look under the ramp here. I talked about things lining up. Let me just take my sunglasses off so we can see what we got going on here. Now, as you can see, when something lines up like that, now this is up at the top, so probably not a lot of rot going on there. But, you know, as the water flows down, we can look underneath this ramp. Let's come up underneath the ramp. And you can see, there's that 45 coming down. Look at the damage. Not so much up here, up there, but as the water flows down, you can start seeing the damage. All right. And you can see that support, and even here where that crack line is, that's where that angle, slight angle, comes down and hits the flat bottom. And look at all that rot there. Now I want to come up top here and look. You see those crack lines? Like right here, this crack line, this crack line here. And then this one out here. This crack line right here. That is soaked through the wood because it wasn't caulked. The ramp armor wasn't caulked. You can see it's lifted. It's lifted. Alright. And that's what's created that damage underneath. And I guarantee you it's a lot of rot there. So, and let's look at some of this. Let's go out to the scrap heap. We'll look at some stuff here. And this is some of the lower pieces of what it's done to it. Yeah, there's damaged. That's just rotted right through the screw holes. Now, what I mean about not letting your crack lines line up, like if you have a piece here, butt it to a piece here, the next piece of something you want it to cover those cracks like that. And you would want your layers to be like that. And that's what I mean. Kind of like when you look at the side of a brick home, the bricks don't, each row does not line up with one another. They stagger. And that's what you need to do with your layers. They need to stagger for water runoff and also to strengthen the ramp. It makes it stronger. Now, let's talk about this ramp armor. Now you see the extensive damage, but this is a piece from down at the bottom. You see all that extensive damage. So, there's a piece at the bottom. You see all that extensive damage, but check it out. This stuff is hard as nails. Nothing wrong with that. So I fully believe in Ram Harper. Ram Harper is really good, and I've seen a skate ramp before covered in skate light, and it didn't last very long. And it was fibrous materials. Where this has more of a more polymer or something in the mix. With the skate light, different levels of skate light that you can buy, I don't know, you know, but as far as ramp armor, you know, if I had my choice between ramp armor, if it was still available, and skate light, after seeing this, I'd choose ramp armor, because I've seen and worked with some skate light before, and I've worked with this. and I would definitely recommend the ramp armor. So anyway, I think the decision that I've come up with is, you can see all this rot up here, rot down through here. You see how it's all rotted. Again, crack line. This is where ramp armor stopped, and another piece came on. I was able to flow down through that crack, destroy all this, destroy that. Come up here. All this is wasted. This is wasted. And it's even kind of destroyed some of my. Not bad. I mean, you could probably put a piece of wood there, cut this back a little, cut this back up here a little bit, and put a piece of wood there and clean it back up. I mean, the sidewalls look good. There's only a few spots where the sidewall does not look good. Let's be over here where the flat wall came up against the transition. See a lot of rot. See a lot of rot here. Water caked in here and rotted all that, because the standing water here allowed to come down to that crack, hit all that rot here, rot in the sidewalls, which is unusual, having rot in the sidewalls. But like I said, you got this flat wall coming down, and allowed all that water to flow. And these flat walls were sitting at 35-degree angle. If you look, I thought they were at 22. I think that was the 22, I believe, is the pyramid. So I misspoke when I talked about this ramp. Here's the original line coming up through here. 35-degree angle. That flat wall's at a 35-degree angle. That's what this large flat wall was. But anyway, be the last video on this, because it's really difficult to try to pull apart the last layer, because there's nothing to go up against, to pry against. So these last layers are kind of tough to come out. What I'm going to do is basically just try to save this half pipe. With all the work that's needed to even just try to save this mini ramp here, it's just not worth it. Too much work involved. So what I'm going to do is just come through here and just cut down through here. Start cutting this up, because it's easier to come out that way than me trying to pull the layers up. And so you're not going to see a lot more any videos really until after this is gone, just for speed, to get it done. And as you can see, this is here was support, because you got to stagger the layers. So you would have had a layer from here to this point, where you have also one from this point to this point to stagger the layers. So that's what that was for. Got anything else am I missing to talk about? I think I've hopefully talked about everything. Hopefully give a little insight to what what a ramp like this would, in a northern state with a lot of snow and rain and things of this nature. Obviously, some of these things I'm talking about probably would not be a real issue if you lived in Arizona, California, and lower parts of California, Texas, place like that. So until then, that's pretty much all I got for this. And I'm just going to get jiggy with it and just start cutting this thing up and getting it the hell out of here, and get to where I'm just going to try to save this half pipe, a 16-foot by 4-foot half pipe. I'll try to save that. Like I said, I'll probably knock that down to a 3-footer. I think I'll find that a little more enjoyable. There's plenty of parks around here with 4-foot and taller walls. No place really that has 3-foot walls. So that'll be it, man. That's the deal with it. All right, till next time. Later.